Hey, want to make some dirt? Hello there. Hi, Jason with Green Country Agroforestry here. And this spring has been very busy. We've been potting up sweet potato slips, lavender, and peppermint in our very own special soil mixture. And, well, this tote was full, but now it's about empty. So I've got to make some more. Would you like to see how I do that? Well, come on. Well, the first step in this process is starting with the charcoal. The charcoal you use if you're making biochar, you can buy the bag charcoal. I'll show you how to make small batches with a paint can. You can buy new paint cans. You have to use the used ones with paint in them. If you want to make small batches of specially selected charcoal for medicinal purposes, use the paint can. Otherwise, you burn in a pit. Or you buy the lump charcoal like this actually is. You just test it whenever you get it. It should be light, very, very light, and whenever you knock a couple pieces together, you should get a little bit of a clink. It needs to be a light clinking sound, not a thunk, but almost a metallic sort of sound, I guess we could say. At that point, it's cooked through enough. If the pieces are heavy and they don't make a satisfying ring whenever you thump them, then they need to be baked a little bit more. This stuff should do. I started out with 1 gallon of charcoal. Removed all the pieces that don't look like they would crush very well. If I've done it right, there's going to be a lot of dust. There'll be a lot of very, very small particles, and a few pieces a little bit larger, but nothing bigger than the end of my thumb. Just like that. You can't just put charcoal into your soil and expect it to work like a miracle. It needs to be charged first. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to take out some of our liquid organic fertilizer. You could also use compost tea, worm tea. I'm just going to put enough in there to soak that charcoal really well. I've got a video on how to make this liquid organic fertilizer. I'll put a link for that in here for you. Whenever I make that batch of charcoal, I'll put a link for that in here as well. I'm going to make sure that your charcoal is stirred well. There we go. I'll keep the stick with it because I'll stir it up every day or so. Now just put this someplace where it won't get rained on for about a week or two. We'll move on to the next step in, well, about a week or two. Okay, so we are going to start out with 2 gallons of peat moss. You could also use coconut coir. Horticultural compost would obviously be the best choice, in which case, if you were using horticultural compost, you would use 4 gallons. Alright, so there we go. We got 2 gallons there. Okay. Now to that 2 gallons of peat moss, we're going to add a couple gallons of boiling hot water. Pour that on in there. And this will kill fungus gnat eggs, sterilize that, and rehydrate it all at the same time. Dry peat moss is about 1 pound to a gallon, approximately. Okie dokie. Alright, now that we've had enough time for this mix to cool off, just double check and make sure it's not too hydrated. You'll give it a good squeeze. If you squeeze it really hard, you should get a drop or 2 of water out of it, and that's about it. That's perfect. It means it's moist, but it's not oversaturated. I'm just going to go ahead and dump this on in to the tote that we're going to mix everything up in. Next thing we're going to do is add some of this mycorrhizal inoculant for our buscular and ectomycorrhizal fungi to the peat moss. It doesn't take a lot. Just 2 of these is enough to inoculate the entire batch. Now if I was making this soil mixture up to up-pot wintergreen or blueberries in, I would go ahead and add our ericoid mycorrhizal inoculant to it as well, but we're not. It's just regular plants. So the ectomycorrhizal and our buscular mycorrhizal mixture is all we need. And I'm just going to go ahead and mix this up thoroughly with the peat moss. Alright, inside this corral here I have some other type of fungus that I've been growing. Oyster mushroom and King Stropharia mushroom, and this soil is just filled with mycelium from those two types of mushrooms. As a matter of fact, there's some of that mycelial mat right there. I'm going to put some of this mycelial mat into the bucket. Not a lot, just a little bit. And then we'll cover that back up. I should probably add some more chips to this pile. It's drying out pretty easily. Wow, look at all that mycelium. There we go. Of course, King Stropharia mushroom isn't the only thing we're going to be adding. We've got a bit of worm compost here. That's right, vermicompost, which is full of effective microorganisms. We're going to add this to the bucket as well. Not a whole lot, just enough to get some of those good microbes working in our soil mix. There we go. Altogether, that amounts to about a half a pound. So we're now at dry weight, 2.5 pounds of material. It's been at least 2 weeks since we started soaking this biochar. We had plenty of time to soak up all the goodies. So all we need to do now is add this to the mix, but we're going to go ahead and pour off the excess liquids and sort of filter it out. This was about 1 pound of organic material dry. So adding that 1 pound to the 2.5 pounds, it's 3.5 pounds of organic material. And we're just going to pour off that excess liquid there. Yeah, the rest of that looks pretty dry. So let me just get that on in. All right. So biochar, dry weight, 1 pound, in addition to the, what was that, 2.5 pounds that we already had. It's going to give us 3.5 pounds of organic matter, dry weight. 3.5 pounds. Alright, next up we're going to add some manure. This is organically sourced cow manure, well aged. This is at least 2 years old, and it's already been tested by test growing some peas in it to make sure that it's not going to have any of the aminopyrrolid persistent broadleaf herbicide in it. There is a little bit of other material in here, obviously some wood chips and things like this, so it's not 100% pure manure either. Somebody even stuck a couple of little rocks into it, trying to be cute. If I had my druthers, I'd be using 100% horticultural compost. But that project is ongoing, and it's not ready yet. Probably by next year I'll have some that I can incorporate. So we're going to work this through the sieve. Going to remove the bits and pieces that we don't need. I'll just incorporate the sticks and twigs and little rocks back into the garden. I can just toss that on top. Okay, can you see the scale down there? We're at like 7.5 pounds. So just short of 8 pounds, at close to 50% moisture. There's another 4 pounds of organic matter, dry weight. Another 4 pounds. That's great. Let's go find ourselves 32 more pounds of stuff. Alright. Next I'm going to add 20 pounds of this general purpose potting mix. That's very generous to call it that. It's actually a mixture of about half sand and about half clay. And I have to break it up with the sledgehammer because, as you can see, it forms these little rocks right here. So we'll run it through the screen, and then we'll process this stuff over again until we can get most of it into a size that can pass through the sieve here. Pardon me, this will just take a minute, okay? Alright, so after pounding it with the sledgehammer here for a bit and passing it through the screen a couple of times, I finally managed to get a nice fine consistency of the clay and sand material, and have mixed it all thoroughly in with my other materials, organic material and mushroom spawn and everything else up that's in there. Now I've got one more ingredient to add, and that is this stuff right here, which is 10 pounds of pea gravel and 2 pounds of pelletized gypsum. And the pelletized gypsum is in there so that the clay particles won't clump together and form large blocks of clay. They'll still have nice water retention and sticky properties, but they won't form a solid brick that will have to be broken up with a sledgehammer in the future. So the pea gravel gives us some different sizes of of rock in here for drainage. So once this is all mixed in, we'll have a well-draining mix that retains moisture very well. That's loaded with organic material. Charged biochar, effective microorganisms, mycorrhizal fungi inoculant. Everything the good soil mix needs. And this will be nice, good, living soil that you can grow anything you want to in. Really, really good stuff. Well, all right, good people, that's it. That's how we go about making up some of the finest soil on earth. I hope you enjoyed this little demonstration. If you found it informative or entertaining, you know what to do. I will catch you next time.